I'm really big on like betting on myself. And that's really what I teach my kids. I think at the ages that they're 10 and 13, I'm really instilling like a lot of belief and confidence in them because I believe that if you do that with children and then you don't stifle their imagination, I think that is key. Because if kids, they have all this wonder and imagination and their brain is just like working so beautifully. And then it's the adults that tell these kids, that's not practical, pay attention. And then they want to it's really the education system too. They want to put kids in these boxes and they want to train them to sit at a desk all day and be told when they can go to the bathroom and be told when they can eat a snack. And it's like, that's crazy to me. I would say that you need to get up every freaking day and move the needle in your business. And fear and doubt and rejection and all these things are going to come up, but you got to freaking do it anyways. And that is actually one thing that I've always been really good at is like, send the freaking message. If you haven't built this presence and this authority on how you can solve that problem, nobody is going to think about you when it comes time for their problem to be solved. Nobody's gonna even know who the hell you are. So it's like you need to get out there now.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwashed to be Broke series. Today, I'm sitting down with a powerhouse in the world of brand and business strategy. She scaled a team of over 100 coaches before she was 30 and now leads the revenue agency, helping coaches, creators, and business owners build profitable brands with clarity and confidence. Super excited to have her here today. Welcome to the show, Brittney Hall.
Thank you, Adam. I'm excited to be here. This is such a cool topic, to be talking about.
Thank you
So
so much
yeah.
to being here. It's just my honor to have you. So all right, so let's start with I would like to know more about your backstory, like how it all actually started for you, because when we grew when we are raised, we're usually getting hand a script that we need to follow, basically, or like they're expecting us to follow, right? So how the script actually look like for you?
Yeah, yeah. So I was raised by entrepreneurs. So my parents kind of, broke that cycle a little bit too. I think my dad was one that I think he was like not a great employee, in that like 8 to 5 mentality. So he kind of broke that apart. But I think the story that they really gave me was that like people always need to be able to get a hold of you. You could go broke at any moment. It could all fall apart. So even though they were entrepreneurs, there was a lot of like fear and doubt and scarcity of like what everything was kind of built out of, I guess. So I definitely kind of broke the script for that in my family. I'm a big mindset believer. I think that if you can picture it and you have the desire in you, you can go create it. So I know that I have family members that are like, well, but what does she even do? Like, how does she even make money? And she doesn't seem like she has to work that hard. And I'm like, I don't believe that you have to. So that's really probably the script that I was given that I was like, that doesn't align with me. Like that doesn't feel good. I'm going to do it differently. And yeah, so I mean, I grew up with really hardworking parents and they were successful, but at a cost.
Yeah, oh, totally. It was
Yeah.
similar. Like my parents are not entrepreneurs, so they're basically just they are working 9 to 5,
Yeah.
and it was like really tough for me. For example, when um, I've been raised mainly with my grandparents, right? Because
Mhm.
like my parents were really young, and they had to take care about us. So they've been just working like crazy. Like yeah, it was really hard, especially from the beginning. But tell me about a little bit more about um how is the when somebody like entrepreneur raising your kid, how is it different um compared
Yeah.
to somebody who is like an ordinary person? How does it
Yeah.
look like? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a really great question because me and my husband are like, I don't know. It's funny as a parent because I could see why some people are like, go to college, get a good job because like we've been told that that's safe. But, we saw in the world through COVID, a lot of people like that just it showed a lot of people like a job's not necessarily safe, right? And so I'm really big on like betting on myself. And that's really what I teach my kids. I think at the ages that they're 10 and 13, I'm really instilling like a lot of belief and confidence in them because I believe that if you do that with children and then you don't stifle their imagination, I think that is key because if kids, they have all this wonder and imagination and their brain is just like working so beautifully. And then it's the adults that tell these kids, that's not practical, pay attention. And then they want to it's really the education system too. They want to put kids in these boxes and they want to train them to sit at a desk all day and be told when they can go to the bathroom and be told when they can eat a snack. And it's like, that's crazy to me. And so even like little things that I'm like, if you're hungry, go eat. Like eat something out of the fridge. Like this is like, you're always welcome to do that. Like, if you need to do, like, go to the bathroom in the middle of something, or you need to do whatever, do what you need to do. Like, you have full autonomy over yourself. I think that people can give their kids probably too much freedom, so because they're little people, they don't know all these things. But I'm really big on like, like, hey, like when I see gifts and just like passions and things in my kids, I call that out and I speak life over that in them. And I'm not attached to them doing what I did. I think a lot of parents do that because it's really familiar to them. Like, they know the path that they took. And so, like, I mean, like I said, we live in Texas. So it's like sports capital bonanza where we're at. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I was a football player, so you should be a football player. It's like, maybe your kid doesn't want to do that. So I think allowing them to develop as the person that they were created to be, and seeing what gifts and passions kind of develop along the way, and then stoking that fire, I think is huge. And then I teach my kids a lot too. My daughter, she's the 13-year-old. She's like, I just don't get why I should be sitting in a classroom all day. And if I'm done with my work, I should be able to go home. And I'm like, yes, like, we are like helping her understand that, like, we don't just follow along because that's what we're told to do. Of course, we're like, that's kind of like the system right now that you're in, but it's not this way for forever. But it's kind of a balance,
So
I guess.
are you homeschooling them, or are you going?
No,
Okay.
they're in public school.
Okay.
Yeah, we have really good schools here.
Hmm.
They were in private school. We used to live in Oregon, so they used to be in private school. But yeah, we have a lot of open conversations and we keep it real. And I think, you know what, like, school is a good structure for you right now. You learn a lot of social skills, but I'm also like, if you didn't do amazing on the test because they kind of sprung it on you, or you hate the subject, like my kids do fine, but I'm like, don't, that doesn't have anything to do with your value. Like, we're going to not let that ruin our day because you got a B, on a paper. Like, it's fine. So,
Did you
yeah.
have like a discussion with your husband, how you're going to actually raise your kids? Like, basically, you're gonna send them to just normal school, or or are you gonna homeschool them, or how it was for you, actually?
Yeah. So he kind of like, I'm kind of the leader on that stuff. Him and I are very much like aligned in how we think. But when our daughter was 5 years old, she was actually diagnosed with hearing loss. And so I was like, oh, like the area that we lived at the time, I was like, she will get lost in public school. Like, she was quiet. She had a very like gentle demeanor. And I was like, in a lot of public schools, the kids who are disruptive or have learning disorders, like things like that, they are kind of the ones that get the most attention. So I was like, no way, like, this is not going to work for her. And so we put her in a private school, very small class sizes, and it was like awesome for her. So that's where she was at until we moved to Texas, and we've really taught her how to advocate for herself. So that kind of was a dictator, and then little brother just kind of followed. He could probably be in a lot of different schools and be fine. He could not be homeschooled though. He would not do well like with that. He needs to be out like with somebody else for the day. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's yeah, it's just amazing, like how everything, like, you can, with the kids, it's just because I don't have a kids yet, but
Uh-huh.
I'm just gathering this information also, and seeing how it actually it can be, and how I can decide, and with my
Yeah.
partner, that how to actually, but when you've been growing up in different environment than most of the people, because you have a entrepreneurship parents, was the
Yeah.
like who you should become, was it different than in most of the people, like, like what they expected from you, who you should be, should you follow the entrepreneurship path, or they've been like, do what you really want and just go with the way that you actually prefer? Like, did he give you the freedom to choose, or how it was for you?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm kind of a tough one because, like, when I feel very called to do something, I will upset like the system within the family and be like, "No, I'm not doing that." But yeah, it was like my parents wanted. It was like they were okay, kind of with whatever I wanted to do, as long as it was kind of like comfortable to them. So it was very important to my mom that I went to college, and because she didn't go to college. So I went to college, I graduated college. It was like school was never hard for me. So like whatever, and they paid for it. So that was a huge blessing. But then I met my husband when I was 21, and I realized I kind of followed in my mom's footsteps in a way. It was like, get married, have kids. Your husband should, he's the breadwinner. You can just be a mom and a wife. And I love being a mom and a wife, but I always felt called to build a business. And I got into network marketing when my kids were very little. I built a big business in a health and wellness company, and had that company for 7.5 years, built it to over $1 million in revenue. And that was wild. A lot of people never do that in network marketing, but I learned a lot of skills along the way. But I still like, it was like it was accepted because it was like this little side thing. Like I remember my parents would be like, "Oh yeah, your little business." It was like not really a little business, and I'm like run like I have a big team, but they just couldn't comprehend how I was making money like by posting on Facebook, you know. And my husband worked for my parents. He was running my dad's company because they were in a similar industry. And it was like, and I had the kids, and then we built a house on the hill that was next to my parents. So it was like very much it fit in this comfortable narrative, which most people would go, oh my God, that sounds like an amazing, incredible life. But in my life, it was still this safety net. And then what happened was when I turned 30 years old and we were moving into this house on the hill and like achieved everything that was really possible in this area that we lived, it was like, that was it. Like my husband's income was tapped out. My business, I don't like it would hit a thing in the economy where I was like, I don't think that this is going to grow anymore. And then it actually started to kind of decline a little bit. And so it was like, shoot, what are we going to do?
Mm,
And I really felt a calling to move out of Oregon and
mm,
sell my house and sell our 80 acres of land, which most people thought we were freaking insane. And we bought a house online and moved to Texas. And that massively upset my family.
mm,
So that was like where, instead of kind of fitting in their narrative, you know, and just because mine seems kind of like successful, it still wasn't. It was like golden handcuffs in a way. And so I think that anybody listening, like put that in your own terms. You know,
mm,
it's like maybe you choose entrepreneurship, but your family thinks that you're crazy because there's you don't have any benefits or it's not safe or like there's nothing to depend on, you know. But I think the best thing you can do is really truly following your heart with this kind
mhm.
of stuff.
Have you ever been actually working like for like employee basically, or have you or like are you
Yeah.
started like right away like a
Yeah, I've
entrepreneur?
had numerous jobs, like very
Mm,
random jobs. I worked at a coffee shop for years when I was younger. I worked at a hospital as a phlebotomist when
mm,
I was in my early 20s. And you know, that was great. I've always done things where I've had a flexible schedule. I
mm,
remember when I was working in phlebotomy, which is, you know, drawing blood, I took a temporary like assignment, I guess, if you will, at a doctor's clinic. And it
mm,
was like 9 to 5, and I got an hour for lunch. And I had never worked that schedule before. And I remember telling it was my, I don't think we were married yet. Maybe we were, but my husband, I was like, how does anybody do anything? Like, when am I supposed to grocery shop? When am I supposed to go to the gym? Like, this is like my whole day is taken up by like sitting in this building. Like, I was just like allergic to it. I was like, this is insane. You know, and then that eventually I had my daughter and I quit that job. And that's when I got into like, you know, network marketing. And I also worked at a gym where I taught fitness classes, but that was also very, flexible. If I
okay.
didn't have my husband, you know, with his income, there probably wouldn't have been the ability to kind of mess around in different fields. But with what I do now, I have been like a contractor for one employee, so or for one employer, or for one company. So that's I'm a contractor, you know, by like taxes, right? But it's also still like you have to show up and work, kind of like an employee in a lot of ways. So yes, I've done that. And then this last fall, I was like, I've had it with people telling me what to do and not agreeing with the culture of the company and just the kind of like, excuse my language, but like the bullshit that you see and you can't change it. So then I was like, no, we need to start our own company. And that's how the revenue agency was born.
Have you ever like when you've been actually working in the corporate job, have you ever felt like the different mindset between you or different like how you felt in that environment when you've been working with others, or how it was for you? Like was it like massive difference between you and for example of and those people like how they've been thinking and you know what I mean like
Yeah.
about the life and everything like I don't know because for me it was like really like it was stressing me out to see people don't like care about for example their future lives and they just been living like like whatever is going to happen you know like I
Yeah.
don't know yeah so just if you had similar you know like this type of feeling when you've been actually doing corporate job or how it
Yeah.
was for you.
I think a lot of people, and I saw this really also like working at the hospital was when I was in my 20s, because this
Hmm.
that was always temporary for me.
Hmm.
Like I'm not like a 30-year commitment person. Like I just I can't even think 5 years down the road. You know, I'm like, what am I doing today? But there are people that they are so limited by what they think is possible in their life. And so they're literally just like showing up and doing a job, and they're collecting their check, and they probably already have their money spent before it even hits their bank account. And they just, that is how they live their life. And they put Christmas on their credit card, and then they hope to pay it off with their tax return. Like that is how the majority of Americans live. And they just don't have big dreams because I don't even think most people know how to dream. And I have just always been so big on what's authentic to me. Authenticity is like one of my highest values, is like me being able to do something that I am in alignment with, that I feel good about. Like as soon as something is, I'm like, that's not for me, I'm out.
Mm.
And I just don't think a lot of people have that confidence to say, like, they're just too scared to go, I don't like this. This isn't for me. People aren't treating me with respect. It's like they just think, well, this is how it is and I need to deal with it and I'll come back tomorrow. Like people are very okay with the bar being set very low for their life. Like they think that that is just as good as it's ever going to get. And maybe they'll get a raise. Like maybe they'll get a bonus if so and so decides. Like I don't ever want my future to be in somebody else's hands. Like that's wild to me. But it's how the majority of the population thinks.
That's just yeah, I completely agree with this, and it's like, oh my gosh, I would, and even if you would like to help somebody, and I had so many times, so many conversations, those people, they don't listen, even though if you are saying something is different, you can
Yeah.
do something differently, you can change the way you live, you don't need to do what you don't like to do, and this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like yeah. So back to the because you mentioned that you actually, like, when you moved to the Texas, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um that something happened that basically you felt like the chains of like you've been still living like how your parents designed for you, and when you
Yeah.
moved it like literally jumped from you and you just start living the way you want to live. Can you go a little bit deeper on that, how it even happened?
You mean like how did it kind of come about?
Yeah, yeah, how it came about, and like even your parents did that for you, or
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it was like I just followed in their footsteps. I think
mm,
we all have this paradigm and these things that are familiar to us, right?
mhm,
And like with the life I was living, it was very familiar. I had a beautiful house in the country.
mhm,
I had a husband and I had two kids. That was exactly like my parents. My husband worked in the same industry as
mhm,
my parents. It was just like a little like carbon copy in a way. And that was very safe. Like I
mhm,
could see my parents whenever. They knew I was safe, So
mhm,
I think that, like I said, I think all parents, it's all out of love and they're doing the very best they can because they want you to be safe.
mhm,
And so that was where all their thoughts were. And so then when I said, hey, like, I think we want to sell this and we're going to move to Texas, they were like,
mhm,
it just created such a like visceral reaction. And they tried to tell me that that was not smart. That was stupid. I was screwing up my whole life. How could I do this? Like to them. And, there was just
wow.
like a lot of that. So, most people, I remember talking to my sister about it. And I said, like, I know I'm going to go, but I don't know how to talk to them about this, my older sister.
Mm,
And she was like, I don't even think I could do it. She goes, being in your
mm,
position, I don't even think I could do it. She's like, that makes me sick. But I was like,
mm,
I have to do it because like I just felt so called that this is what was right for our family because things had changed a lot in Oregon. The political climate doesn't align with how we want to raise our kids and the environment that we want to be in. And we were just like, oh, we just felt completely called to move.
mhm,
And it took about 10 months for us to sell our home. So I have a lot of faith. Like,
mhm,
I believe in God. And I really thought there's no way that I would be called to move if this was going to ruin my entire family.
mhm,
But I had to let my parents process those emotions. I had to process it because I think that there's almost a grieving when, your kids aren't doing what you think they should. It's like, it's very hard for people to accept stuff like that. So, but that was 3 years ago. And we still have a successful life. Like we're okay. There's been times where we've just had to have a lot of faith and be like, is this going to come together like we think it is?
mm.
But I believe that that's really how faith is built is
Yeah.
it's like you have to trust in the process. And it's worked out so far.
I can relate to this so deep because I moved with my girlfriend 5 years ago to UK,
Yeah.
and we moved by ourselves because I couldn't live the life the way that they basically lined up for me.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the hardest time in my life basically to actually,
Yeah.
like, just even like at that time I've been 21 or 22, and I
Yeah.
just moved and we didn't have anything. Nobody, like, we left the security and everything and tried to just build something better for ourselves,
Yeah.
in different country. And it was really difficult, especially from the beginning. But I think that was the time when everything started for me, right? And
Hmm.
it like opened all the doors, and that was the best thing that actually happened, even it helped me to actually connect with my parents even more than it was before,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
That move, that shift.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like happened something similar to you, like that now the relationship is even stronger with your parents, or how you can feel that?
It is. Yeah. It's I don't get to see them in person as much, but it's so much more quality
Mm,
than it was before because I think there was an element of almost being taken for granted because I was always there. I was at every holiday, my kids, everything. But there wasn't a lot of great quality time. There was more just like quantity, I guess. So it's been really good. Like my dad is a lot more he's kind of a quiet guy, but he's much more like interested and takes time and to be present with us, when we visit and they come visit us. And it's just, yeah, it's really increased just the relationship. And that's what happened for you too.
yeah, well, um like m the relationship with my parents, because I couldn't really I've been firstborn, right? I have a brother, and he is just he's still there. He will be there, and he never changed. He will be there for them, and like this is like um their son, basically. Like they are keeping in touch with him as much as they can. But I'm headed a little bit different way. I like my plan is to go to USA and so on. But
Oh,
um yeah, like when we moved, it was completely like the relationship get really like get really stronger, and now it's like we are feeling like when we communicate together, it's we are like you can feel the love much more than it was before, right?
yeah.
It was like before we couldn't even say to us that we actually like loves each other, but now it's
Yeah.
different, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so also I wanted to ask if when you moved,
Mhm.
was it like a massive change for you in your life and in your with you moved probably with your kids already, right? You had
Yeah.
kids,
Yep.
and so what was the biggest change that you need to like go through when you actually moved to the Texas?
Yeah, it's funny because where I'm from, where I moved from, is a small town known to everybody since like your whole life, right?
Mhm.
I had a big family in town, everybody knew us, it was that kind of thing. And so it's really, and like I said, right, like I was the person who had the big house on the hill, like people in town knew that was where it's just kind of like a status thing. And then you move to somewhere where we just bought a house in a neighborhood, and I was like, the garage is so small. Like that sounds really like stuck up, but it was just like such a shift that I had to really like do a lot of work on myself that like I have no status here. No one knows me here. We don't have any communities. Like it's just the four of us and our dogs and cats, and just like meeting people and really what there's a refreshing side to it that's like you get to decide that you get to be whoever you want to be. Like there's
Mhm.
no prejudgments, like based on who people think you are, who you were in high school, all of those things. So that's refreshing. But then it's also hard in a way because you're like, nobody knows me. Like
Mhm.
they don't know how I think. They don't know if something's gonna like be like not taken well. Like when you're making friends
Can you
and stuff, it's
yeah,
really weird.
can you say that actually that shift when you actually moved that sparks something like the idea that you are actually running now, like the business that you are running now? Can you
Um,
do you
I don't
think?
know if the move,
Mm,
well, if you look back at like the pivot points of the other companies that I worked in before starting this business, which gave me a ton of experience in this industry, because I worked with some pretty like big name like influencers and coaches in the
mhm,
industry. And if I was in Oregon, I don't think those would have been opportunities that I could have
mm,
had. So
mhm.
moving to the middle of the country and being kind of like closer to things in some of these companies, it gave me more opportunity that way. So for sure, I believe that everything is aligned for our highest good, but you have to be willing to do the scary things or else you'll never get the reward and the growth and all of that. So yeah, there was
Awesome.
definitely like these little pivot points, like each thing leads to the next.
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and so when you actually like moved and to the different to the Texas, and um, have you like have you already had something working for you at that time, or have you been like building it something like from scratch when you moved, like going online and start actually like building this like the business that actually brought for you, the income, the success, the security, and building the way you live basically right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had, well, I had my network marketing like business. So
it's
that
still going
that was still
from that time.
going at
Okay.
that point.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just resigned from that in the fall. So we had that income, but it had started to decline. And then I thought, oh, well, I'm going to move to this new area. I'm going to meet people and I'm just going to bring in a lot of new people and that will
Mm-hmm.
boost our income. And then that didn't really happen. And my husband, he didn't have a job because I had like retired him, from his job with that income. And so we really were like, what are we going to do? Like he went and like interviewed for a job. He's always worked in like heavy equipment and stuff. So he could very easily get like a good paying job
Mm-hmm.
with his skills. But he was like, I go, how did it feel like when you went and interviewed? He goes, it makes me want to like throw up. And I was like, oh. And I was like, we just need to do our own thing. And I had actually bought a coaching, like an event. Like I was like, we're gonna go to Tennessee. We're gonna go to a guy that we had kind of like done some coaching with before. And I was like, he's teaching exactly what we need to know. We need to go learn these skills. But in the process, that guy needed somebody to sell for him.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I bought, he said, well, yeah, and then you can sell my coaching and you'll make 20%. And I was like, now that is something that I can get a return on my investment. I'm the only person that bought that package from him that actually did something with it. And I ended up making hundreds of thousands of dollars selling for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up running operations for his company. I made a ton of contacts. I learned so much about the coaching industry, like the online,
Mm-hmm.
like coaching industry. And that was killer. And I did that for about a year. And then
Mm-hmm.
things kind of started to unravel
Mm-hmm.
there and you wanted to change how I was being paid and stuff. Cause like I said, I was making a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had, there's a guy who has a coaching company out in Plano
Mm-hmm.
and big influencer guy. And I had known the guy who was now running his company because we had met in the industry. And so I said, hey, what are you guys doing out there? And so then we pivoted into that and did that for a little while. And that's when we really just like felt called that we were supposed to do our own thing. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like, it was like the one thing that led to the next. Like
Yes.
we really knew we weren't supposed to go back into the workforce, but
Mm-hmm.
we were just like, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
And that opportunity came up and it helped us financially for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just kind of pivoted into the next thing. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big believer that like you can always change your mind. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
always do something else. Like I don't think it's great to be like quit jobs or whatever, but
Right.
it's like don't I think people are so afraid to move on from something
Mm-hmm.
because they don't, but it's like something better might be waiting for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
What did you have to like? How did you have to change the thinking, or have you already been like from your young age the way that you've been thinking about like you know just not being like not being employed, but like how that you've been thinking about like that there is like different way that you actually can make money, or like because how did you get to actually doing the MLM or affiliate marketing or network marketing basically? How did you get
Yeah.
to that?
How did I, yeah, get into
Mm-hmm.
that? I was teaching classes at the gym and I
Mm-hmm.
had two kids and I was in probably a healthier place than I was than even like when I got married, but I was still like overweight. And I remember I turned 30 and I was like, every year, I always set like an intention for that next year around my birthday. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is the year that I'm going to get my body in
Mm-hmm.
check. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure this out. I cannot diet my whole life.
Right.
And someone who actually ended up being my coach brought a program into the gym, like an eating plan. And I was like, yeah, I'll try that. Like I'll try anything. And I lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks and it like radically changed my life. And then I'm such a kind of out there person teaching all these classes and I'm on Facebook and just like sharing my life. And I'm in this town where everybody's known me for forever. And so it was a really organic growth. And so I was like, sure, I'll coach. Like, it was like $199 to buy my coach kit. And I was making $2,000 within 6 weeks. And I was like,
Amazing. Yeah.
what? And
Right.
that was right when we found out my daughter had hearing loss. And we were like, how are we going to afford private school?
Mm-hmm.
And we just moved out to the country and we were like, we really need a tractor to like work on this land. And so it just was providing these things that were not really going to be options for us off of a single income.
Mm-hmm.
So it really provided that financial ease that we wanted. That's how I got into it. I had a terrific mentor who had
Mm-hmm.
been in the business, like in the
Mm-hmm.
direct sales industry for a long time. She taught me a ton of skills. I actually think I don't know if network marketing, I don't think it's for everybody, but I think that for anybody who needs to like get to learn to work with people,
Mm-hmm.
it's a tremendous opportunity to come in and learn how to start conversations on social media,
Mm-hmm.
how to post to create leads,
Mm-hmm.
how to close those people, how to get them on the phone, how to
Mm-hmm.
talk to them, and just how to like take a conversation and make it kind of go the way you want because it
Mm-hmm.
really taught me a ton about marketing and sales.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
That was the
but
foundation, right? Amazing.
absolutely. Yeah. And just like it put me in rooms with a bunch of people that I don't know. And then I started going to events and it just like kept putting me in uncomfortable situations. And I think that that was really like a huge thing for me was just getting comfortable, being uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
and just taught me a ton.
Even though when you've been raised with your entrepreneurship parents, have you still had to do some like beliefs that you have to like fight with, that you actually get, that you need to overcome some type of like anxiety that actually stop you from doing some stuff, like or being successful?
Yeah, I think, well, I guess with that one, it was more of like a having to overcome like what are people going to think about me? Are they going to think I'm being annoying? Am I out there too much? Like, am I being seen too much? Because
Mm,
even though my parents were successful, it was always kind of like make money and be successful, but don't really let anybody know about it because
mm,
then they won't like you. So like those are a lot of the belief patterns. And then like, people didn't like me because my family was
mm,
successful. Like people that didn't even know me. And so I think that that was always something that was kind of like a concern or a fear in the back of my mind is if I'm posting about this, and this is for anybody in the online space, because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, but I don't want to be too much on social media. And I'm like, too
mm,
much for who? Like, why would you not like go for it because of what somebody who's probably never going to do business with you might think of you?
mhm, mhm,
So that was probably one of the biggest mindset things
mhm,
that I had to overcome. And like my
mhm.
own brother blocked me on Facebook. Like
Really?
he still has me blocked to this day. Yeah. And because he was like, she's just posting too much about this stuff. And it was like, huh, it just reveals people's character.
Mhm,
And yeah, especially when you're posting about health and wellness,
mhm,
people get really weird about that. They're like,
mhm,
oh, you think I'm fat? It's like, I don't think anything about you.
mhm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Well,
So there's a lot of that I had to overcome.
yeah. So I heard a saying about this actually, that people don't think about like when you are coming, for example, to gym or something like that.
Mhm.
People don't think about you. They think about what you think about them.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, that's so good. I was like, oh my
It's so
gosh.
true.
Yeah, it's
It's
super
so
true
true.
because when you think about it, really, this is what's happening because this is what even like you are doing when you are in the gym. Like, anyway,
Absolutely.
it's pretty funny.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, are they looking at me? Oh, am I in their spot? Am I this?
Yeah.
It's like we're all very like
Yeah.
insecure in a lot of ways,
Right. Yeah.
and very self-involved. We're all very self-involved. Like
Yeah.
we're always thinking about ourselves and thinking everybody else is thinking about us. It's like nobody, but it's like it's very natural and it's very human. And like I said earlier, it's like, but just put it in whatever context
Mhm,
that fits in your life. But you just have to like, that's the mindset stuff and the
mhm,
repetition of just going, nobody's thinking about me. Or if
mhm,
they are, so what?
mhm.
Like, so what?
Yeah.
Like, am I doing what I want
True.
to do? Yes. Okay, great. Keep going.
Totally. Yeah.
No, not everybody's going to like you.
Of course not. Like, this
Yeah.
is how it is. Everybody's attractive with somebody like different person because we are like,
Hmm.
um, everybody's got different character, different personality, and we are presenting different ways. So we are like,
Yeah.
but there are people are also think that there is a limited amount of like of people who you can help. That's
Yeah.
not true, right? There is a
Hmm.
like I like to think abundantly a lot
Yeah.
because like we are making it in our head that we are actually limited anyway. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah. So this is really, really cool conversation. I would love to also like, how did you get to what you are actually doing now? Like, how did you get to that? Did it lead you from like, have you been inspired by the network marketing that you've been doing, or did you like it was just an idea? Because I know, and I'm guilty of it also, that so many like I see opportunities everywhere to what I can do. Just
Yeah.
the thing that stops people the most is that taking the action actually. So
Absolutely.
I would love to know like how did you get into what you are doing actually now?
Yeah. It's a great question. And, I'm a little older than you. So it's a lot of I've done a lot of things. And I think that it's really important to take note on the different things that you've done and what did you really like about them?
Mm,
And were you like, I know with me, like, no matter what I've done, I've been able to influence people and not in a manipulative way, but like people really like to do what I do. And
mm,
so it's like, that's a gift that I have. And so it's like, how can I use that? And then also, just like when I was working in these other coaching companies, and that's who I work with coaches, personal brands, entrepreneurs, people in the online space mainly,
yeah,
same people you work with, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is I really learned like what I was good at in these other companies. I learned a ton and
Mm,
I realized I have a real gift for business strategy, like growth strategies,
mhm,
but then also meeting these entrepreneurs and these coaches and these authors and speakers and picking out little things that they do that's
mhm,
different than everybody else and
mhm,
going that right there, that whatever you just said or whatever that is that you have, that's going to make you a lot of money.
mhm.
And so I know how to pull that out and I know how to monetize it. I
Right.
know, like, I have always had a gift for making money.
Mhm,
And so that's what I help people do is, I help them create master classes, upsell offers, like, but the strategy from the start all the way through to the offer and how you do it and how much it is and how
Mm-hmm.
many leads we generate and all of that. So I learned a lot of that just being in the business and being around people who are very good at it. And then just looking for opportunities. And then it's scary to go out and start your own business because you're like, is anybody going to hire me? But I also am good at relationships. And so I had some contacts and people in the industry that I know were like, you're doing it for everybody now, not just because I had had some serious results in some other
Right.
companies. And people were like,
It's really, yeah,
she's pretty badass.
yeah.
So I had a reputation, I had the skill, and I know the problem that I want to solve for people. And
Mm-hmm.
I also have a lot of passion around it.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things combined, but see, I didn't know that this is what I was supposed to be doing even 2 years ago. It wasn't like this was this vision that I had. I always knew that I probably wanted to work for myself. I always have known I wanted to make a lot of money. I always knew I wanted to make a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I've finally figured out that this is the channel that is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be supporting the work that I do.
Right.
So
Amazing.
it's like, I would love for people to go, oh, it's just a formula. And then you'll know exactly what you're supposed to do. But
Mm.
really, it's like, no, you have to go out and try stuff and be
Yes,
good and then be bad and then see what
exactly.
you like, see what you don't like. And then you cannot be too scared to try again.
And it's so interesting and so important how relationship is actually huge,
Huge.
huge in entrepreneurship. Like
People have to
because
like you. They have to
exactly,
trust you.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. This is the most important part, I would say, if you start whatever you do and whatever plans you have in your life. Like you need to you need to have audience that are going to trust you, like you, and believe in you,
Hmm.
and believe in your tribe, and believe in your vision. That's going to like literally support you along the way.
Yeah.
And this is massive, and
Yeah.
not many people are talking about this type of things. So I
No.
really appreciate that you mentioned that because this is really huge.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who who would be starting out
Mm. Um,
like you like on the beginning of the journey, right?
yeah.
What would you say to them um how they should change their beliefs or what they should go and start doing from the beginning to actually get a similar success to yours?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few tangible, like very logical steps that I would say. I would say even if a lot of people have a job, right? And they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I used to be so much more like, just jump, but I would say have some money in the bank because when you're low on money, and it doesn't have to be a ton, but like have some money that you can float because you're not going to probably land a bunch of clients right off the get go. Like it's going to be a little bit of a grind. But I would say while you're preparing, start building your brand on social media. Like get in that rhythm and get in that habit and start inspiring people and building a brand and building that consistently where people can get to know you because people have this false narrative that they think, well, if I have a website and then I make a post, I'm going to have 20 clients. Like, that is not the way it goes. Even with all the people I know, I mean, I know a lot of people that need what I do, but people are very like they think they know it or like they're not in enough of a spot yet where they are like, please help me. There's a lot of ego and stuff that comes in
They're
this
not in
business.
enough pain, basically. They're
Yeah,
not in
they're
enough
just not
pain.
enough pain. They're
Mhm.
not frustrated enough yet
Yeah,
because people will move towards a solution
yeah,
when the problem gets big enough.
right,
It's
exactly.
just like going to the doctor, right? You're like, this is really becoming a problem. So, but here's the deal. If you haven't built this presence and this authority on how you can solve that problem, nobody is going to think about you when it comes time for their problem to be solved. Nobody's going to even know who the hell you are. So it's like you need to get out there now. Like that's what I would say is get out there, start speaking on your social media, posting on your social media, like just
This is
start things that
amazing.
give you an
Yes,
authority. Just like you having this podcast, this is something that's building your authority in a certain space,
of course. Right.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, this is super super important and amazing advice for listeners. And what do you wish that someone like had told you like in that moment that when you've been starting, like something like some advice? What would you like? What it would be to you like that would shortcut the success to you towards where you are at the moment?
Gosh. um I probably the biggest thing. And I mean, because like I would say I wouldn't change anything like of the way it's gone for us
Mm.
because it's all been like this really beautiful kind of
Right.
progression. But I would say that you need to get up every freaking day and move the needle in your business. And fear and doubt and rejection and all these things are going to come up, but you got to freaking do it anyways. And that is actually one thing that I've always been really good at is like send the freaking message. Like send messages to people like prospect. Like you reached out to me. I didn't know you, but I was like, sure. Like you didn't probably expect anything from me, but I was like, hell, that sounds fun. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll be on your podcast. So it's like you never ever know. So don't make up a story, just get into action. And like there's so many people, like, and I see it because I work with these coaches and they sell these courses. And then I'm on these, Zooms with all these people while they're teaching. And it's like people are like, oh no, I didn't do what you said last week. It's like, stop spending money looking for answers when you literally are not even doing anything. Like you have to do the work. So that's probably, and like even myself, some days I'm like, shoot, did I move the needle today? Like, but if I move in the needle a little bit every day, that's going to compound big time. So that is like, just people just expect things to come too easy. They just think it should be easy. And building a business and a legacy and a life is not freaking easy. That's why so few people are doing it. So you got to be different than everybody else.
Amazing, amazing.
Sorry, I get real wound up about that.
That's so good. Yeah, super good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
before I let you go,
Yeah.
just a rapid fire. Uh,
Okay.
what's one rule you were taught that you now think is totally bullshit, like totally BS?
Mm. Yeah, total bullshit that you
Mm,
have to grind for like hours and hours every day. And that's the only way to be successful. That is complete bullshit. I believe in white space on your calendar. I believe in being in flow. I believe in acting on inspired ideas. So these influencers are saying you got to get up at 4 a.m. and not see your family and whatever. It's bullshit. That's not how life should be lived.
right.
Yeah.
What's one belief you had to unlearn to actually become free?
Not everybody's going to like me. And
All
that's
right.
okay. I'm
That's
not for
good.
everybody. Yeah.
And the last one was one thing that you do now that the old you would thought was crazy.
Ooh. Gosh, that's hard because I've always been pretty bold. But
Oh.
what is something I do now that the old me would think is crazy? Uh, honestly, probably like not even knowing what's gonna happen and just being like, it's gonna work out. Like I had a lot of anxiety and stuff as a kid, and I always wanted guarantees, and there isn't any guarantees in life. But like I have learned as I get older that like if you do the right stuff and you're with the right people, things will work out. So I didn't have that belief before.
Amazing, amazing. That was so
Yeah.
powerful. Thank you for being here and sharing all of this with us.
Absolutely.
That
Thank
was
you so
amazing.
much. No, this has been so much fun.
Yeah.
You're a great host. Thank you for
Before
having me.
that, before I let you go,
Yeah.
for anyone who wants to connect, support your work, or just say thank
Yeah.
you for where they can find you.
Yeah. So I'm on all social media. It's the Brittney Hall. My name, hopefully you see it on the episode. It's spelled a little bit different. But yeah, Brittney Hall. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Gosh, I think I'm even on Twitter. I don't use it that much, but I'm over there. But also you can, if you're interested in our work, you can go to therevenueagency.com. And that's a great place to kind of see what we're all about, how we help people, and how you can apply to work with us.
Amazing. All right. And for everyone listening, if this stirs something in you, don't ignore it. Share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe, leave a review. And remember, you weren't born to follow the script. You were born to be free. Bye, everybody.